Hello, everybody. This is James Arnold here. You've probably seen me in the Facebook group commenting on a bunch of the posts and stuff, and giving you a direction on pH. pH is one of my biggest things, and that's what I'm here to talk to you about. It seems like a lot of people are missing the importance of pH from what I have gathered in some of the groups. I know a lot of you out there are new to this. But there's also a lot of bad information that I've been looking at. People don't bring up pH as something important, and pH is absolutely important. So what is pH? pH, there's a lot of controversy on what pH stands for. I call it potential hydrogen. The lower the scale, the more hydrogen you have in the water. Different plants have a different requirement of pH. So if you're on Google or on the internet searching around, you could type in stuff like, what is the required pH for strawberries? What's the required pH for corn? What's the required pH for collards? And you're going to know that and see that all these plants have a different requirement for pH. And once you find a median between the minimum and the maximum, and most of us stick to about a 6 or 6.5. I've noticed a lot of problems that people are posting of their plants. They're not growing very good. They look weak. They look droopy. They look burned. People are talking about the garden food, burning their plants and everything. That's where pH comes in part. A lot of people don't understand this. Now, if you go with the aerial garden food, a lot of people say, well, don't worry about pH. But then people start posting pictures that, oh, my plants aren't doing very well. I'm using the aerial garden food. Yes, pH is very important. You have to balance that pH in order for the nutrients to work. So if I have, and another thing, algae. So you have a pH level over 7, you're going to have an algae bloom in your water. Algae loves high pH. I would guarantee that anybody that's got an algae problem goes to test their water, their pH is going to be over 7, it's going to be high, it's going to be 8. And pH loves a high pH level. After 7, it's all she wrote. She goes to town. You have got to bring that down to an environment where algae does not like to grow. And most plants love to strive, and they strive in pH levels of 6, 6.5, even as low as 5.5. My system is at 6.0. Different types of water they're going to have different types of pH levels. So everybody's got these different problems, but one person's solution to make your garden all great and powerful is not going to work for somebody that's got a different pH level as what they have. I saw a post in the group where somebody had wrote out a big old post about how their system strives and everything, but never did they mention what their pH level was. And pH is extremely important. So here's why it's important. If I have a growing child, and everybody that's got kids or been around kids, they eat. They need a lot of food in order to grow and to develop. So if I was Mr. High pH and I come in to feed this kid, I'm going to give them a teaspoon of food and say that's all you're getting all day long. So I'm basically starving my kid. So if I was a pH of 6.5, that kid's going to get a meal in the morning, he's going to get a meal in the afternoon, he's going to get a meal in the evening, on top of all the diaper changes. So that is how important pH is. pH determines how much food is going to get to your plants. If you have a high pH, you're choking your plant off. You're wasting your food, your nutrients. You're just pouring all this money into your 6 gallons, and your plants are not even they're not even, they are not benefiting from the nutrients and the minerals that are in it, because basically there's a roadblock saying, nope, you're not getting into this plant. But if I bring my pH level to a 6 to a 6.5, I open that gate and it can get all the food and the minerals and everything that it can possibly get. So that's the difference. So on a pH scale, you have a pH of 14. 14 is kind of like liquid Drano. So liquid Drano has a pH level of 14. Blood has a pH level of 7.4, I believe, or 7.2. And urine, milk has a pH of 6.5, I believe. Seawater, salt water and seawater has a pH level of 8. Grapefruit juice, lemon, that's got a pH scale of 3 to 2. If you don't have a solution of pH down, people could use vinegar to bring the pH levels down in their system. But I would stick to an actual product. This General Hydroponics, which I've posted a link to, it has an acid base that you can put. It's specifically formulated for hydroponics. It's got a pH down, it's got a pH up. You basically put a beaker of water here. You put about halfway in there, and you put 3 drops of the cleaning solution or the testing solution here. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you the difference between waters that I have here. So I have well water, and my well water goes through a water softener, and it comes directly into my faucet and everything. So this right here is, I believe, okay, this right here is this is my Culligan drinking water. I have a water filter, so the softened water from my well is going into a reverse osmosis system from Culligan, and it gives me a pH of 6, and I can look on the jar here that the yellow is more of a 6. And that is perfect for the garden system because I don't have to make any adjustments to the system whatsoever. So my other type of water I have is directly from the well. And I'm going to pour just a little bit out here and put a couple more drops. This is directly from the well and water softener. So I'm going to mix that up, and you can see that this is green. This right here has a pH level of 7. It's probably a 7.2, maybe a 7.1, 7.2. If I was to put that water in my garden system and run it, that would cause algae to grow probably within a week because it's at that critical point of 7.0 where algae loves. I've got light, the plastic on the garden is kind of thin. I know the 2.0 is a little bit thicker, so it doesn't allow more light. I have the 1.0. I have no algae in my system because my pH level is at a 6 to a 6.5. Algae is not going to grow in it. The only algae I'm going to get is on top of the rock wool because the rock wool naturally has a high pH level. So with that light and that high pH and it's moist because of the water coming up, it's going to cause algae growth on the top of the rock wool. And it's not going to hurt your plants if you have the algae on the top. It probably won't hurt it inside your system, but algae, you have a problem if you've got algae. You've got high pH. You've got to get it down to a 6 to 6.5. It's a whole different world, folks. I guarantee you all that have high pH and you balance your system out, you get it down to a 6 to 6.5, it's going to be a night and day difference in your plants. You're going to get fruits. You're going to get these beautiful fruits. You're going to get flourishing greens. You're not going to have like a lot of ugly looking plants or whatnot. You get your pH up, your pH down. How do I do this, James? Okay, so get you a gallon of water that you're going to be using. use a milk jug. I guess you could use a milk jug, fill it up to about a gallon. And then what you want to do is experiment. Start with a teaspoon of pH down. Put a teaspoon in there, shake it up, test that water, and see what the pH level is. Once you get it to a yellow color, then you know, okay, a pH is going to bring, or a teaspoon of the acid, the pH down is going to get my system down to a 6.0 per gallon. So you would add a teaspoon of the acid down per gallon 6 times. So you'd add 6 teaspoons and your system will be balanced. If it's still green and, and dark on the scale, if it's a teal color or a dark green or a light green, add another teaspoon, shake it up, retest. It's kind of trial and error. Everybody's going to be different because your pH levels are going to be different. City water is high. It's high drinking water. Your drinking water from the stores and stuff, it's got a high pH level of 8, 9. The Aquafina drinking water, I noticed it was a little bit, it was almost a high 5, maybe a 6, because it's a little bit orange. I've tested it, and I'm going to post some pictures here at the end of the video of the different types of water that I tested. But anyways, I'm always available. If you ever have questions, and if I don't know, I'm going to tell you I don't know. If I don't know, I'm going to research it. I'm going to contact people and get to know what the answer is. But, I've been doing this for a long time. I know chemistry pretty good, and, a lot of trial and error and just researching and getting invested in this product. You want to protect your investment. You want the best for your family. You want your best food. So get that pH down. A lot of y'all got high pH, and you're going to see it whenever you test. Get it down to a 6 to 6.5. It's going to be a world of difference, I promise you. It's James Arnold signing off. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.